Hey everybody, welcome back to theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Again, it's theclinicaltrialsguru.com. So just a little follow-up to my last webinar. And by the way, you don't want to miss on my monthly webinars, right? That's why you need to subscribe to my blog if you're not already. And subscribe to YouTube in case you missed a live webinar. All the replays are available on YouTube, right? So my last webinar was about recruiting PIs, how to locate them. I got a follow-up question from someone today by email, and by the way, any of you guys can do that too. It's dan@theclinicaltrialsguru.com, or if you prefer, call or text 949-415-6256. Alright, so I'll keep this person anonymous. As we recall, you mentioned that new PIs may have a hard time agreeing to work in clinical trials because they're still looking for a stable position or are just too busy. However, our problem is not with recruiting them, but it is getting them approved by the sponsor. So our question is, what is some advice you have that will ensure new PIs get approved by the sponsor other than the CV? So that is the catch-22. There's actually two dilemmas here when it comes to PIs, okay? The first one is this experience thing you're talking about, all right? No sponsor wants to be the first one to give you a study with a brand new PI, and you're not going to get new studies unless you have experience, but you're not going to get experience unless you have studies, right? That's the little paradox or dilemma. Okay, that's one. The second one is you have to find a balance between a PI who has a busy private practice and very little time to dedicate to research versus a PI who doesn't have a busy private practice, maybe doesn't have a private practice at all, and has all the time in the world to focus on research. So that's another dilemma. There's pros and cons to both of those scenarios. So I'll get back to your experience dilemma in a little bit in this video. But first I want to talk about the PIs that have busy private practices but very little time versus the PIs that don't have any private practice but have a lot of time, right? And you can work with both. The idea is really you want both. You want to have a healthy mix of investigators at your site because you need those busy PIs with the busy private practice because they're going to be your main referral source, all right? And it's a good way for them to earn passive income or as close to passive income as possible for them by referring patients into their own studies, right? So there's no issues with referral fees or anything. You're going to pay them commission based on a percentage of your total revenue that you get from their studies that they're the PIs. And then what you do, because they don't have much time, but they do have to have oversight, right, over the study. They can delegate to the sub-investigators who have a lot of time but don't have a busy private practice, and those sub-Is can do all the procedures, and the two can work synergistically with each other. And maybe the PI who's really busy and doesn't have time for anything can delegate some of the things from his private practice to the sub-I who doesn't. Maybe there's a way for them to work together there also. So there's always different angles. I guess that's a new meme I should put on Instagram. Always be looking for different angles, right? Look for ways where you as the research clinic or as the business person or as the person in charge of running your research clinic, look for ways to actually help these doctors even outside of research, like help them build their private practice, right? If you have a PI with a busy private practice, just doesn't have time, you can find a sub-I who has plenty of time but no private practice, maybe no business skills, or is having a hard time developing a private practice. Put them together, let research be that bridge, put them together, have them work on your research studies so you benefit there, they both benefit there, but also they can work with each other in their private practice, right? Now your second question was, what is some advice you have that will help ensure new PIs get approved by the sponsor other than the CV? So there really is no other way. The sponsor only looks at the CV unless they're coming out to your site for an SSV and then they're not giving you the study because the PI says he has no experience or she has no experience. So what you do in this case is Obviously, you can't lie and put studies on their CV that they haven't done, but what you should do is be proactive about it, and maybe a few months before you know that you want to put this guy as a PI, a few months, doesn't have to be a year before, a few months before you know you're going to start putting this guy as a PI, put him or her as a sub-I under the model I just talked about. Sub-investigator, right? It's so underrated. It's the most underrated word in research is sub-investigator, right? Because you can pretty much do, if you're an MD and you're a sub-I, you can do everything the PI is qualified and certified and delegated to do, as long as the PI delegates that person. So you can start, you can build up someone's CV in a hurry. And in fact, that's what I do with a lot of my clients that I consult with. When we find them a PI, we first find them a sub-I, right? We have them work with the clinic under the model I just explained. There needs to be some synergy there, right? Busy private practice, not so busy private practice, no time for research, a lot of time for research. Put them together, right? Now this sub-investigator will have a lot of experience in a few months. Now when it's time to apply for a study, their CV has some research experience on it, preferably a lot, okay? And when sponsor comes out to your site, they're going to say, do you have research experience? You say yes. They are going to try to ask you if you were ever a PI. You can say no. But there is one hack to this. If your PI is cooperating, you can agree before the study starts or during the study. Let your existing PI know what you're doing and say, hey, we need to get this other guy some studies because you don't have much time. You're both going to get equal share of studies. You guys can choose which studies you want. Our sub-I is going to be a sub-I, but then sometime during the middle of the study, we're going to switch him to be PI, right? And this works best after you've randomized a lot of patients and you're a relatively good site, and you assure the sponsor that, hey, the PI is not leaving, he's just going to be a sub-I, or maybe a co-PI, okay? And now when the sponsor asks you in the future, next time they come out, have you ever been a PI? You can look at them, smile, and say yes. All right, so hopefully this helps. You guys need to be practical with these things. Use some common sense. It's all business. Work the angles, all that stuff, all right? Dan from theclinicaltrialsguru.com. Take care.